and you're sick and tired of mainstream financial advice, you're sick and tired of handing control of your money over to someone else who thinks they can do better with it than you can, you wake up most mornings asking yourself, why am I taxed so much in all areas of my life? Then this is an opportunity for you to explore a process that puts you in the driver's seat financially. Does the infinite banking concept still work in 2021? Hey everyone, it's your good friend Jayson Lowe here. Let's talk about the infinite banking concept in Canada and whether or not it still works in 2021. Now, what some people may be wondering is, what is the infinite banking concept? What is the process of becoming your own banker? There's so much information out there on the internet about this subject, and I want to address a few really important things. One is the essence of the process. And the process is to recapture the interest, to change the flow of the money back to your family for all those important things that you need to purchase throughout the course of your lifetime. This is all about how you go about financing those things. Now, one thing that's so important to recognize, because being that it's 2021, there's a surge in interest in things like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. You've seen all the headlines about GameStop and hedge funds losing billions of dollars, and people who are chasing that quick buck, that quick return, and handing control of their money over to someone else. And we know people who have lost big, we know people who have won big. But the problem is everyone's ignoring the function of banking. Nobody's talking about who controls the banking function as it relates to your needs. So let me give you an example. Regardless of what's going on, regardless of what year it is, someone has to perform that function in your lifetime, because the process of banking goes on no matter what's happening. Every time that you're transacting to purchase the goods, the services, all the things that you need, every payment that you're making for those things is a deposit into someone else's bank. Now, what we are trying to help people understand is that you can take control of this function as it relates to your needs. And a great place to start understanding the problem is to read the book titled Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, this book is a 92-page read. And if at any point during this video you find yourself thinking, hey, this is a book that I really want to get my hands on, there's going to be a link for you to purchase your own copy. And if you believe that there's someone that you know, work with, or associate with that can benefit from the gift of this message, pick up a copy for them as well. We'll ship it anywhere in Canada. Okay, so getting back to whether or not this concept works in 2021. I don't personally believe there's been a better time for people to embrace this process in their lives. We are speaking to Canadians coast to coast every single day about this concept. And one of the most common directions that the conversation goes from the outset is people are talking about things like the insurance policy or the system of policies that a person needs in order to implement this in their lives. But yet they have little to no understanding of the problem. And so while you're going through our YouTube channel and consuming our content, we recognize that if you decide to implement this process in your life, that you may choose not to do that with us. Here are a few things that we would absolutely recommend that you do. First and foremost, our clients that have implemented this process, they all work with a really good coach. And so make sure that you have a coach. Do not try to do this alone. It's also really important to be aware of the life insurance carrier that you're utilizing, how the policy is structured or your system of policies is structured. You want to work with, ideally, someone who is an authorized infinite banking practitioner with the Nelson Nash Institute. And that person should be able to demonstrate to you through real example how they are implementing this process in their life. And I'm not just talking about how much premium they're depositing into their program, but can they share with you specific examples of how this process is implemented in their own lives? Now, here's something that I want to share. I was speaking with a client of ours who's been practicing this process for 7 years. And this particular client of ours, before implementing this process in his life and his family's life, when he when he first heard about this, he was incredibly skeptical. And his father worked for Revenue Canada for his entire career. And so he thought to himself, gosh, like, could this really be true? Could I really implement this? And this fellow is a police officer in the city of Edmonton. And so his investigative, instincts kicked in, and he read R. Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. He attended a live event to learn about the process. He asked a very important question at the end of the event. Jayson, can you or someone on your team take a look at my financial circumstances and help me understand how I can implement this process in my life? And the answer, of course, was yes. And what we didn't know is that prior to him being engaged and starting a family, his previous fiance was killed tragically in a car accident. And obviously, that was a devastating experience that he had in his life. And he recognized, the importance of being life insured and the significance of that. And so when he started a family and began, children came along, and he was really truly embracing this process. Since that time, he's been able to get rid of the mortgage. So getting rid of the snakes and dragons, as R. Nelson Nash used to say. All their family vehicles have been taken care of through the implementation of the process. He's in total control of the banking function as it relates to his needs. And he works in a very stressful career. But outside of his day-to-day job, he's experiencing a very peaceful, stress-free financial way of life. This is something that you can do too. But there are a few important things that must be understood. The first is the problem. So we always ask people this important question, and I'm going to ask you: who is the banker in your life today? Someone must perform that function as it relates to your needs. There are no exceptions. For as long as you're going to need the use of money, someone must perform that function of banking as it relates to your needs. It can and it should be you. And if you recognize that, regardless of how you're earning an income, whether it's T4 income, dividend income, maybe you own a portfolio of real estate, maybe you're trading in stocks and you're profiting from that activity, whatever that may be, that income is presently flowing through the books of someone else's bank. Who gets the money first? They do. And then when you pay for all those things that you need to in your lifetime, you're permanently transferring that money away from yourself. If you recognized that that's a problem, the solution is to take control of the function. And the way to do that is what I described earlier, making sure that you're reading Nelson's book. It's a 92-page read, take you the better part of an afternoon to go through it. Sit down with an authorized infinite banking practitioner. Make sure that that practitioner can demonstrate to you through real example how they're implementing this process in their own life, so that you're comfortable that you're working with an experienced coach. And then once you begin on your journey with this process, always remember in the back of your mind that the more that you see, the more you'll see you didn't see. And you're going to, through your research on the YouTubes and the Facebooks and the Instagrammies and the Tweeters and all these different social media platforms, you're going to come across what our mentor, the late R. Nelson Nash, used to say is a lot of financial noise. I promise you, you will encounter videos about the infinite banking concept that are solely focused on the insurance policy or the system of policies, talking about things that just don't matter. Things like, what is the interest rate on policy loans, and what is the dividend scale interest rate of that particular life insurance company, and how can I best design or structure this policy? If you truly understand the problem, the details really don't matter. And if you don't understand the problem, the details still don't matter. The insurance policy or the system of policies are just a tool. And you can put the best tool for the job in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it. And not only are they not going to turn out any good work with the tool, they're likely going to break the darn tool. So let's keep this ridiculously simple. If you require the use of money, then someone must perform the function of banking. If that someone is not you, then what's happening in your financial life right now, regardless of how much income you earn, what's happening in your financial life right now is that you are transferring all that money that you've earned, that you've worked very hard to earn. You're transferring that away from you, and the transfer is permanent. When you filled up your car with gas, when you stopped at the grocery store, when you paid the internet bill, you can never use that money again. It's been permanently transferred away from you and your family and every generation that comes after you. If you take control of the function and now you're utilizing a policy or a system of policies as a platform for you to implement this process, your pool of financial value never leaves your control, ever. How would that make you feel to know that you're in a position of total and absolute control? Picture a day when that control is in your hands, not in the hands of bankers, the government, a risky or temperamental stock market, or the mainstream financial advice, which we know hasn't worked out well. You can control this function as it relates to your needs. And what I'll share with you too is that there has to be a burning desire to change. And so if you are in a position in your life where you feel like you've arrived in knowledge, that you've learned everything that there is to know, and that you cannot be taught anything new, then I'm afraid it's all downhill from here. But if you can still receive the inspiration to learn something new, and you're sick and tired of mainstream financial advice, you're sick and tired of handing control of your money over to someone else who thinks they can do better with it than you can, you wake up most mornings asking yourself, why am I taxed so much in all areas of my life? Then this is an opportunity for you to explore a process that puts you in the driver's seat financially. It keeps, as Nelson used to say, he told this story. I got to share this story. He said, imagine we're in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and we're in a tent. And so I want you to picture yourself, you're standing right next to me in this tent. And we've got plenty of food. It's air conditioned. We've got all the refreshments that we need. And you look over at me and you say, Jayson, don't react too quickly. But if you look over your left shoulder, there's a camel that just poked its head in our tent. Well, if you and I don't do something real quickly, we're going to end up with that whole camel in our tent. And that camel is the government. And so when you implement this process in your life, you can implement this where you have policies with a mutual company. So these are private contracts. Your privacy is maintained. Your money is growing on a daily basis on a foundation of contractual guarantees. That money cannot be repossessed or taken away from you or lose value. You control how you finance the things in your life. You have the gold, you make the rules. That will create a very peaceful, stress-free financial existence for you and for your family. So let me summarize a couple of things. You've got to get your hands on the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. It's sold over 400,000 copies for a reason. You've got to read the book with an open mind, and it's going to expose you to a whole new financial world, I promise you. And as you're going through the book, write down the questions that come up for you. Capture those lingering thoughts. Meet with an authorized infinite banking practitioner. Have a discussion about the book. Start with the problem. Define the problem. Write it down. Here is the problem as I see it. How can this process help my family to solve this problem? And the moment that you do that, you'll start to gain more clarity in thinking. You'll be even more convinced that mainstream financial advice has not served you well. It served the bankers well. It has served the government well. It has served Wall Street and Bay Street extremely well. But I'm telling you, the system is rigged against you, not for you. So turn the tables, take control of this function. You'll be glad you did. I appreciate you tuning in to this particular episode. Infinite banking concept in Canada in 2021. Does it work? You better believe it. And I thoroughly believe there's no better time than right now to begin taking control of this function as it relates to your needs. Now, you're going to see over my shoulder here a playlist of additional video content on our YouTube channel. Wholeheartedly encourage you to continue watching. Tune into the next video. I hope you got some value, and I wish you and yours a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in.